Dhamma Pratikam Dhamma Puje Dhamma Puje Sangham So, blessings of the triple gems so that our interaction is useful, fruitful. So we have been discussing the factors responsible for delaying our progress in the path of Dhamma. And we started with understanding of, suppose the problem. The problem is that we feel, just as on listening to suttas and, for example, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Anattalakkana Sutta, we find that the listeners itself become, just by while the process of listening, वो लोग लिबरेशन की स्ट्रीम में पहुंच गए, और दूसरी बात मुक्त हो गए। तो हम चर्चा कर रहे थे कि हमको भी तो अनित्य बोध की बात तो काफी समझ में आ गई है, अनुभव पे भी आई है, अनात्मबोध की बात भी आई है, फिर भी हमारे केस में क्यों नहीं हो रहा? सो वी आर आस्किंग दैट क्वेश्चन, एंड इन डिस्कशंस इन वेरियस वेज वी रिकॉग्नाइज्ड दैट it is primarily because during our non-meditating hours, if I may use that word, हम लोग संसार से बहुत आकर्षित रहते हैं, enchanted रहते हैं. There's sort of attraction of the world, and we saw it in the Satipatthana Sutta, how there are at least 60 places where we can be trapped in tanha, in attachment towards the pleasant, and therefore जितना सुबह शाम ध्यान करके चित्त की शुद्धता हुई, वो काफी हद तक बैक फुट पे चली जाती है. We take 2 steps ahead and at least 1, if not both the 2 back. So we've been trying to understand that in a variety of ways. And then when we study Anattalakkana Sutta, then yesterday I presented another sutta where the Buddha mentions that just by understanding of anicca is sufficient to arouse the disenchantment, because we recognize that disenchantment is a very crucial step in our journey towards liberation. That became clear to us after a number of discussions, number of suttas we found there. So the question could naturally be asked, if anicca sanya is sufficient to arouse disenchantment, why are you talking about so many other things to be done? There must be a reason, obviously, because in the Girimananda Sutta, the Buddha talks of 10 sannyas, not 1. So there must be a reason for that. And the way I can understand is that the depth of penetration into the anicca sanya, in our case, is not sufficient to create nibbida. We've already seen. It's an empirical observation. We always find escape routes. Dukkha is anicca, so I get too much bothered. Nikal jayega. Khanti ka ek false sense of khanti. Just bear with it, it'll go. Don't worry. Now, so we get, that's based on empirical evidence only, really. Now we say, okay, with depth of penetration, kya hota bhai? It means that we have a kind of bone deep realization in all its aspect. जैसे अन्य कुंडन्या का जो स्टेटमेंट था, यम किंच समुदय धम्मम निरोध धम्मंति, हम कह सकते हैं एक बिल्कुल क्लियर है, absolutely fully agree, we have also seen that, but have we really seen it? When he says yam kinchi, means everything in the world. Obviously, if he had attained Sotapatti Phala, I'm using the words in a conventional language, then first three fetters must have been removed. सक्काय दिट्ठी, विचिकिच्छा, शीलवता परामस, ये तीनों हट गए होंगे, तभी वो सोतापत्ति फल प्राप्त हुआ उनको। और भगवान ने कहा अन्य कुंडलियां, मतलब सिर्फ इस बात को इतनी गहराई से समझे, अनित्य बोध इतनी गहराई से जागा कि पांचों खंडों के प्रति जो भी।
आपका कैमरा थोड़ा ना ठीक कर लें।
कैमरा नहीं ठीक?
हाँ, आपका पूरा चेहरा नहीं आ रहा।
Sorry. Okay. Thank you. So, what did Anya Kondanya see? Arising and passing away of Vedana only? Obviously not. He could see the whole five khandas as having the same characteristic, just immediately, with a flash. And so all attachment to the five khandas vanished. Sakkaya Ditti vanished. No doubt remained on that. Vichikiච්ඡa vanished. And obviously, when these two happen, Silabhata Paramatsa would also vanish. All his their attachment to the ascetic practices which was existing must have all vanished. But इससे तो हो गया काम भाई, काहे का उसको चक्कर में पड़े 6 साल हमने उसमें लगा दिए. So you can easily visualize what must have happened at that time. The fact that other 4 monks could not get it so easily is a pointer of them. They had to be trained by the Buddha for next 7 or 50, 14 days, 1 or 2 weeks. Suttas mention about it. And only then they became clear and could drop these 3 fetters, and then the Anatta Lakhana Sutta was given. So obviously when he understood Yam Kinchi Samudaya Dhammam, he understood Anatta immediately. Otherwise there is no way that Sakkaya Ditti would have gone. And when he recall, आपको याद होगा अनत्थ लक्षण सूत्र हमने पढ़ा, उसका बेसिस यही था कि सारे खंड अनत्थ हैं, अनात्म है, अनित्य है, अनित्य हैं तो वो दुख हैं तो वो हमारे आत्मा नहीं हो सकती. They cannot be, they are not within our control. That was the arguments. It all started from anicca. So for a person like him, obviously that was enough. So how do you explain it? You always say उसकी पारमी बहुत ज़्यादा थी. What does parmi mean really? Parmi means that his preparation to understand that had been done in the so many past lives. So कई बार हम उसको एक वो समझ लेते हैं that parmi is some kind of a blessing or some mystic thing which we don't have. And और कई बार ये भी सोचते हैं कि अगर पारमी पे सब कुछ डिपेंड है तो क्या ध्यान कोशिश क्या करनी है यार, अपने आप जब पारमी पुष्ट हो जाएंगी तो हो जाएगा, ज्यादा क्यों माथा पच्ची कर रहे हैं हम लोग. तो अगर आपको याद हो तो जब सारिपुत्र और मोग्गलान को भगवान कहते हैं कि ये चीफ डिसाइपल्स हैं, तो बाकी के संघ में कुछ खलबली मच जाती है कि ये तो अभी अभी आए, आप इनको चीफ डिसाइपल बना रहे हैं और हम लोग इतने इतने यहाँ पे इतने सीनियर लोग हैं. So then he explains them. It's not that I am making them this. They have been working for it for eons. And then he gives the example. See, Kondanya, he has been working on it for eons, that he should be the very first person to taste Dhamma when the next Buddha arises. And that's how he got it. And he has done enormous work for that purpose. And what work has he done? The practice of Dhamma. What else? So what are the 10 paramis? आपको अगर याद हो, मैं just read out, मैंने लिख रखा है स्क्रीन पे. दान, शील और भावना, बेसिकली यही है. पहली पारमी है दान की, दूसरी है शील की, बाकी सब मिला के भावना की बात है, प्रैक्टिस की बात है. उनमें वीर्य है, पन्या है, खंति है, सत्य है, अधिष्ठान है, मैत्ता है, उपेक्षा है, निखम्मा है. They are all part of the practice. Nikhamma would be In the terms of the sannyas जो हमने चर्चा की, सब लोके अनभिरति संन्यास. So that is the renunciation. कपड़े बदलना renunciation नहीं है, वो इसका symbol है. Real renunciation means सब लोके अनभिरति संन्यास. किसी में आपकी कोई रति नहीं है. You've given up all attachments to sensory pleasures. Insight कैसे आएगी? Practice से आएगी. Energy चाहिए. Energy, effort, patience, adhishthana, strong resolution. Then metta, equanimity. All these are related to the practice. So whatever practice we are doing, whatever discussion which we are doing, we are investigating Dhamma. So that's a part of developing panya. So our panya parami is increasing. We are following the path of truth. We are trying to understand truth. So our Satya parami is increasing. We are making a adhishthana that we will work for this during the vasa and make sure that we try to understand it as clearly as possible. So adhishthana parami is increasing. And we are maintaining equanimity. We are not getting upset. We are saying we are fixing targets and yet not taking it personally. So our equanimity is increasing. So that's how the parami is increased, by the practice. Of course, there is also the issue of apparent contradiction. So that's a very important issue. And I must thank Deepti and Sonal for giving feedback and responding to my request to give feedback. That's a very important issue which keeps on cropping up again and again and again. And we need to really come to terms with it, really, because there are bound to be contradictory statements. As in philosophy it is said, the greatest truths are those whose opposite is also true. For example, one contradiction which you may be worried is, one hand you're talking of patience, then we also talk of practice of acceptance of whatever is. We talk of equanimity. We say we should keep on not bother about results. Kala Magameya. Why are you? And then you're on the other hand, you're saying do effort. Samma Vayamo, do effort, put adhithana, put energy. So these seem to be, of course, we discussed this issue once again earlier also about Samma Vayamo and acceptance of what is. I think it bears repetition probably. See, when you say acceptance of what is, it doesn't mean passivity. In fact, Lumpur keeps on saying us again and again. Acceptance does not mean passivity, resignation. क्या करें, मजबूरी है, accept कर लो भाई, ऐसा नहीं. It means you know this is the way it is. At this moment, this is the way it is. Next moment, it can change depending on conditions. And if my sati and panya says, yes, you must work to change it, I'll work to change it. With sati and panya, yes, surely. I'll respond to the situation appropriately. I'm not going to sit like a zombie and wait to accept whatever is happening. That's not acceptance. That is resignation, helplessness. And Samma Vayamo seems to be a big stumbling block, because in acceptance, Samma Vayamo says you must work hard. And then, if you recall the words of Buddha, there's very strong words. He generates effort, he applies energy, applies virya, so that arisen, unwholesome states are removed, and the new unwholesome states are not allowed to rise. Wholesome states are guarded, and unwholesome states which are not there, they are brought in. So he applies energy, effort on that. So you must see that this is a part of Buddha's teaching. And I found a very interesting sutta today, just while going through the net, I was just looking for some particular thing. So I feel like reading it out. Of course, time is short, but I think I'll read it out. We'll overshoot the time, so we slightly start late. It's in Anguttara Nikaya 10.51. It's called Satchitta Sutta. Satchitta Sutta, one's own mind. And how is a bhikkhu? It's about Samma Vayamo. How is a bhikkhu skilled in ways of his mind? It is just as if a woman or a man, young, youthful, and fond of ornaments, would look at her or his own facial reflection in a clean, bright mirror, If they see any dust or blemish there, they will make an effort to remove it. But if they don't see any dust or blemish, they'll be glad about it. And they will think, how fortunate that I am clean. So too, bhikkhu's self-examination is very helpful for a bhikkhu to grow in wholesome qualities. Self-examination, vimansa, which is the fourth factor of the Iddhipadas, extremely important. Not done with the idea of whether I have attained this or that. Not made into a self-view, but sati and panya. Sometimes we think that if I do self-examination and find out my flaws, I am creating vibhav tanha. I am trying to become self is arising. No, it's not necessary. It has to be done properly with a proper attitude. Sati and Panya tells us that if there are defilements, they make us suffer. And getting out of suffering is my objective. And then he continues, what does self-examination mean? I think it is never, I have not seen this kind of a details elsewhere till now. One should ask oneself, am I often given to longing or without longing? Am I often given to ill will or without ill will? Am I often overcome by dullness and drowsiness or free from dullness and drowsiness? Am I often restless or calm? Am I often plagued by doubt or free from doubt? Am I often angry or without anger? Is my mind often defiled or undefiled? Is my body often agitated or unagitated? Am I often lazy or energetic? Am I often unconcentrated or concentrated? Then, if by such self-examination a bhikkhu knows, I am often given to longing and so on, laziness, anger, defilement, he should put forth extraordinary desire, effort, zeal, enthusiasm, indefatigability, mindfulness, and clear comprehension to abandon those same weird, unwholesome qualities. Now listen to this. Just as one whose clothes or head has caught fire would put forth extraordinary desire, effort, zeal, enthusiasm, indefatigability, mindfulness, and clear comprehension to extinguish the fire on his clothes or head, so too the bhikkhu should put extraordinary desire, effort, this, to abandon these bad, unwholesome qualities. What do you say this? What happened to equanimity? What happened to patience? What happened to acceptance of what is? Is it contradicting that? No, not at all. If one's head is caught on fire, one won't patiently wait and say, let me accept it what it is and resign to it. Acceptance of what it means is, yes, there is fire. Now what I should do? You don't allow the mind to get into a spin. Allow, wait, and now let me see what is the best way to extinguish it. And appropriate effort is done. That's why the analogy has been used of such a strong kind. The defilements are like fire. We have already seen in Aditya Paryaya Sutta. Ragagni, Doshagni, Mohagni. Defilements are like fire. And we should see that in that manner and put effort in that direction. But again, effort done with patience, effort done with equanimity, effort done with acceptance of whatever the situation is, and not allowing the mind to get either worried or excited about, oh, I am able to do this, or I am not able to do this. So, similarly, when you talk of trust in awareness, it's another very crucial thing which we try to miss. We say, and Lungpur keeps on exhorting us to follow it. Wonderful. Buddha also says so, sairagam va chittam, sairagam chittam ti pajanati. चित्त में राग है तो उसको जानते हैं, और ऊपर कह रहे हैं राग है तो समझो कि कपड़ा आपका सिर जल रहा है और उसको निकालो. ये क्या बात है? ये दोनों apparently contradictory हो गए. So you must understand what is it happening, why is it saying, why is it being said? When we say Chittanupasana, we observe Sairagam va chittang sairagam chittang ti pajanati, Vitaragam va chittang vitaragam chittang ti pajanati. Means our mindfulness is so strong And the object of awareness is such that we are not attached to it. We see raga arising and it does not captivate us and it passes away, and we wait till it passes away. But if the object which arises, object of attachment which arises is so strong, it grips us, then we'll not be able to see it at all. We'll be get into spin. हम लोग प्रपंच में घुस जाएंगे. और अगर ये बार बार होता है, that's why the Buddha in this sutta says you should examine it if it is happening again and again. If you should see that if I am often restless, I am often angry, then not sometimes I get angry. If I am often angry, if I am often caught in any defilement, then investigate. Because in fact, Buddha's teaching is there, investigate suffering. So how does this trust in awareness and investigate suffering? They seem to be contradictory. No. We have to see that they are actually complementary. When of pure awareness is, we are not able to exercise that ability, that the object of awareness is so strong that it captivates us, then we have to investigate, and it causes suffering. Because it will immediately result into response, in an angry response. If anger arises and I can see and it goes, pretty fine. But if anger arises and it forces me to speak harsh words and harsh action, obviously I've lost it. I'm suffering. Suffering has begun. And if suffering has begun, I should investigate it. So it's very important that we try to understand these contradictions and see that they are not really contradictions. They are various aspects of our practice, and we should know when to do what. I think it's time for me to stop. We'll carry on with this next time, tomorrow. And I would request all of you, please give feedback if you have doubts about what is being said, if you feel that I said something earlier, now I'm saying something else, or that the teaching itself is getting into confusion, or something is not clear. Please share your feedback so that I'll also learn. And there's an exercise for me to learn. I'm actually doing this for myself primarily, as I mentioned, so that no doubts remain. Vichikicha is finished as far as possible. And we're able to penetrate into the Dhamma. So again, I request you all,